Here is the truth about most plant problems. They are not caused by bad luck or difficult plants. They're caused by habits that feel like good care but have been slowly damaging your plants for months. This video covers every single one, what it looks like, why it causes damage, and what to do instead. You are almost certainly doing at least 3 of these right now, so let us get into it. The most common mistake in the world is watering on a schedule. Every Sunday, every 10 days. Whenever you remember, it feels responsible, but it is quietly killing your plants. Water needs change constantly based on light, temperature, season, and growth stage. The routine that works in July can be fatal in January because the plant's metabolism has slowed. The days are shorter, and soil holds moisture far longer. You water on the same schedule, the soil never dries, oxygen disappears, and root rot begins. The fix is simple. Before every watering, push your finger 2 to 3 centimeters into the soil. If it feels damp at all, wait. Your calendar has no idea what season it is inside your home. The soil does. Putting a plant into a pot that is way too large is one of the most reliable ways to cause root rot. Roots absorb water from their immediate area. All that extra soil beyond the root ball has nothing pulling moisture from it, so it stays wet for weeks. That wet zone is perfect for bacteria and water molds. The plant looks fine above ground while rot establishes below. When you repot, go up one size only, no more than 5 centimeters in diameter. A slightly snug plant is significantly healthier than one swimming in excess soil. If this is already changing how you think about your plants, subscribe. New video every week, same format. Misting does not raise humidity. It raises disease risk. The water evaporates within minutes and humidity goes right back to where it was. All you have done is leave the leaves damp, which is an ideal surface for fungal spores to germinate. Powdery mildew, leaf spot, and botrytis all establish more readily on misted foliage. A hygrometer placed next to a misted plant shows the humidity spike lasting less than 10 minutes. If your plants genuinely need higher humidity, calathea, ferns, orchids, alocasia, 3 things actually work. A pebble tray with water beneath the pot, grouping plants together so they share transpiration, or a small humidifier. All 3 raise humidity consistently without wetting leaves. Now this next one might surprise you. Placing gravel at the bottom of a pot to improve drainage is one of the most repeated pieces of plant advice, and it makes drainage worse. Water moves easily through fine soil, but when it hits a boundary between soil and coarse gravel, it stops. Water molecules cling to each other and to the fine particles around them. They will not move into the large air gaps between gravel until the soil above is completely saturated. Your potting mix becomes waterlogged before water even reaches the gravel. The only real drainage solution is a hole at the bottom. Not gravel, not sand, not broken crockery. A hole. Standard potting mix was designed for outdoor bedding plants that need to stay moist. Indoors, it compacts within 1 to 2 years, loses its air structure, and becomes a root rot factory. Succulents and cacti need a mix that dries out almost completely between waterings, so cactus mix or standard soil with 50% perlite. Orchids grow on tree bark in nature and need bark, not soil. Tropical aroids need standard mix with 20 to 30% perlite for drainage and airflow. Using the correct medium is the baseline for the plant to function. Every other care decision is less effective when the soil is wrong. Fertilizing goes wrong not because people pick the wrong product, but because they apply it at the wrong time. In winter, dormant plants cannot absorb nutrients. The minerals accumulate as salts, build up over months, and eventually cause fertilizer burn, roots dehydrating as the salt concentration reverses osmosis. The symptoms look almost identical to underwatering, so people water more, which makes the salt problem worse. Fertilizing a stressed plant adds chemical stress on top of physical stress, and fertilizing into dry soil concentrates the solution and burns roots on contact. Always water first, fertilize second. Never fertilize in winter right after repotting when the plant is sick or into dry soil. People see roots at the drainage hole and immediately move the plant into a much larger pot expecting rapid growth. Usually the opposite happens. Roots showing alone do not mean urgent repotting. Many plants, pothos, peace lilies, spider plants, flower more readily when slightly root-bound. The real signals are doubled watering frequency, genuinely stalled growth, or roots circling the surface. And every repotted plant goes through 2 to 6 weeks of recovery where above-ground growth stalls completely. That is normal. The plant is rebuilding its feeder root network. Do not fertilize it. Do not move it. Just wait. Most houseplants go semi-dormant in winter. Their metabolism slows and they stop pushing new growth. Caring for them in January like you did in July is a common cause of winter plant death. Water significantly less. Some plants need watering only once a month. Stop fertilizing entirely. Accept that growth will slow or stop and resist the urge to intervene. Moving plants closer to windows to compensate for shorter days is the one active adjustment worth making. In spring, when new growth appears, gradually resume normal care. New leaves are the signal that the plant has come back online. Light is the most misunderstood part of plant care because terms like bright indirect light, low light, and medium light describe a massive range. Here is what most guides skip. Light halves in intensity with every metre from a window. 1 metre from a south-facing window gets roughly 1/4 of the light on the windowsill. 2 metres gets 1/16. Across the room is effectively darkness from a photosynthesis perspective. The most common mistake is placing light-hungry plants like Monstera or fiddle leaf fig too far from windows for the sake of aesthetics, then wondering why they stretch and stop growing. Leggy growth with wide gaps between leaves means not enough light. Pale patches on upper surfaces mean too much direct sun. Compact growth and vivid colour mean the light is right. A pot without a drainage hole is not a pot. It is a bucket. Water accumulates at the base no matter how carefully you water. The fix is simple. Use a nursery pot with drainage holes inside the decorative outer pot. Water the plant, let it drain fully. Place it back and empty any water that collects in the outer pot after 30 minutes. The plant gets drainage. You get the look you want. When pruning, cut at a 45-degree angle about 5 mm above a leaf node, with the low point facing away from the bud. This lets water run off instead of pooling. A flat cut holds water and invites fungal growth. A cut too far above a node leaves dead tissue the plant cannot seal, and it gradually rots back toward living wood. Use sharp tools and wipe blades with diluted alcohol between plants. The worst pest mistake is not using the wrong treatment. It is waiting too long to treat. Spider mites go from a handful of adults to thousands in 2 weeks. A single female can lay up to 100 eggs, and eggs hatch within 3 days. By the time you notice damage, the infestation has been active for weeks. Get into the habit of inspecting leaf undersides every 2 weeks. 2 minutes catches infestations when a single neem oil treatment still resolves them. Isolate any symptomatic plant immediately. Pests spread by crawling and through air movement. Getting a sick plant away from the collection before treatment is the most effective containment step you can take. Every time you move a plant, it recalibrates its physiology for 2 to 4 weeks, adjusting leaf angle, stomatal aperture, and water uptake to the new conditions. The most visible result is leaf drop. Owners see leaves falling, assume the spot is wrong, move it again and trigger another round. Find the right position, leave it there and give it 4 full weeks before judging. Leaf drop in the first 2 weeks after a move is adjustment, not damage. New growth after 4 weeks confirms the position works. Dust accumulates on leaves within weeks, and even a thin layer reduces light reaching the surface by 5 to 10%. For plants in lower light, that matters. Wipe large-leaved plants like Monstera, rubber plants, and peace lilies with a damp cloth every 2 to 3 weeks. This restores full light absorption and removes early-stage pest colonies that prefer dusty surfaces. Cold tap water causes temperature shock on tropical roots and carries chlorine and fluoride. Leave water out to reach room temperature before using it. Chlorine dissipates in 12 to 24 hours uncovered. Fluoride does not and accumulates in leaf tissue as brown, crispy tips that spread inward. Peace lilies, calathea, dracaena, and spider plants are the most sensitive. Rainwater or filtered water is the fix for these. Potting mix breaks down within 1 to 2 years. The organic material decomposes, air pockets vanish, and the mix becomes dense and suffocating. The plant produces smaller leaves and grows slowly without obvious cause. Most people assume the plant has reached its natural size. In reality, the medium has stopped supporting it. Fresh mix with 20 to 30% perlite restores root health and frequently produces visible improvement within 4 to 6 weeks. Repot every 2 years as standard maintenance. Fertilizer packaging is calibrated for garden plants where excess washes away with rain. In a pot, salts accumulate with every application. Always use half the recommended strength every 2 to 3 weeks during growing season. A white crust on the soil surface means salt buildup. Flush the pot with large volumes of plain water 3 to 4 times to dissolve it. One of the most common mistakes happens before the plant comes home. Choosing a plant because it looks right in a spot rather than because the light there works for it. Assess light first. Direct sun suits succulents, cacti, and herbs. Bright indirect near east or south windows suits most tropical foliage. Low light more than 2 meters from any window suits almost nothing, though pothos, snake plants, and zez plants will survive. If you love a plant that does not match your light, a grow light 15 to 20 centimeters above, 14 hours on and 10 off, solves it. Every new plant is a potential pest carrier. Quarantine it for 2 to 4 weeks before introducing it to your collection. Inspect leaf undersides, stem joints, and soil surface. 2 weeks of patience costs nothing. A collection-wide infestation costs weeks of treatment. And finally, the most underestimated mistake is the most human one. Responding to every sign of stress with action rather than patience. A plant that looks terrible 2 weeks after repotting is almost certainly recovering normally. Leaf drop after a move means adjusting. No growth in winter means dormancy, not death. In all 3 cases, the answer is the same. Stable conditions, appropriate watering, and time. The urge to intervene disrupts recovery every single time. The most underused tool in plant care is doing nothing, not neglect. Stable, appropriate conditions without constant fiddling. So let us bring it together. Soil test before every watering. Stop misting. Remove the gravel layer. Match soil to the plant. Half-strength fertilizer into moist soil during growing season only. 1 pot size up at a time. Inspect leaf undersides every 2 weeks. Quarantine new plants. Room temperature water left out overnight. Fresh soil every 2 years. And above all, stable conditions and patience. Most plants are not dying, they are adjusting. Give them time. If your plant is doing something right now and you're not sure which of these mistakes is behind it, describe it in the comments. I read every single one and I will help you figure out what is going on. And if this helped, hit subscribe. New topic every week in this exact format. You will not need to guess anymore.